Aftab, I think it's very, very wonderful to actually be in conversation with you today. I mean, I've kind of grown up watching your films and I've kind of grown up grooving to Me Must as well when I was a kid. And now suddenly we're here speaking during the pandemic. And it's been a very, very interesting time for you because obviously, on one hand, you've become a father. So a huge congratulations for that.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
And on the other hand, as well, I believe you've recovered from COVID-19 as well, right? I read
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. Wow.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, great is a very big understatement, I'm sure, but I think there's a lot of things going on at the moment. So, how would you best describe this phase you're currently
Yeah, it's amazing because it's a whole new phase in my life, fatherhood. Of course, I'm a first time father, so it's very exciting. It's an amazing feeling to actually look at your daughter looking at you smiling, when she has that twinkle in her eye, and that's amazing because sometimes my wife and I still pinch ourselves to, is this for real,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's an amazing feeling. We're both overwhelmed, and we love it. We love her to bits, and we're just busy with her. Whole day revolves around her. Even today revolved around her, so that's why we got a bit late. But otherwise, yeah, practically our whole lives at the moment revolves around her. And also professionally, it's exciting because Poison's coming out in a couple of days,
mm,
in I think 4 days, and so that's my digital debut. So I'm quite excited about it, and
right.
yeah, it's looking great. So professionally, also, I'm quite excited and positive about what's happening, and yeah, I mean, back to normal, back to the grind. But yeah, I'm enjoying every second of fatherhood.
And so you should be. I mean, I can't really vouch for that because I'm not a father yet, but I'm sure everyone that I've spoken with who are parents, they've always had a very similar experience to what you've just said as well.
Yeah,
I mean, how is Nin and Nivai, if I'm
Nevea,
Nivea.
Nevea, yeah.
So it's like, isn't that that's a palindrome of heaven, right?
But that's what they say. It means heaven in one language. It means peace and angels in another language. So, yeah, eventually, I mean, basically, she is our heaven. So whether the way you look at it is completely your interpretation, but for us, she's heaven. So
Oh, that's cute. How are they keeping though? Are they well in good health as well?
yeah, absolutely well. By the grace of God, everything is fine. Of
Mm,
course, Nin is just brilliant at what she does. She's both of us are hands-on, but of course, being a mother, she's got the added responsibility.
yeah.
And I'm just here. I'm just trying to do my best as a hands-on dad as well, and just be there for both of them and help in every little way that I can. But
Right.
they're doing amazing. Thank you for asking.
Oh, that's good. I'm really glad to hear that. So, from being from one producer in that sense to actually stepping into the shoes as a
Yeah,
producer, I believe
yeah. They're two different kinds of producers.
definitely. So, I believe you recently announced your production house as well, and the first project of that
Yeah,
being Dhoond. So what will
Dund. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what will be your main goals as a producer? Because I believe this is the first time you'll kind of be stepping away in front of the camera and kind of taking a back seat and calling the shots, right? So, what will be
Actually, the thing is, we have my wife and I have always wanted to get into production. We've been toying around with the idea for a couple of years now,
mm,
and we formulated a company. We announced our company rather in July of 2020. It's called Mount Zen Media, and we want to do a couple of things like various things from ranging from films to shows on the web to documentaries to various things. So we've kind of zeroed down on a couple of scripts, a couple of film scripts that we wanna work on. So yeah, we're quite excited about this whole new journey as well, and we are in the development stages. Adund has been pushed back to next year, so it's kind of on the back burner at the moment. But we might be starting maybe one or two other things before that. So we're in the development stages and in the negotiation stages. So I think that will take some time, and once it's ready, then we will announce it formally, and then we will take it up from there.
mm. That sounds really exciting. So, I know you just mentioned that you're looking to kind of back a lot of like a variety of ventures, right? Ranging from
Yeah.
features to obviously web series. But is there a particular genre that you're looking to target or a particular style of cinema you'd like to bring to the forefront with the production house?
Um, we haven't particularly thought about a genre, but we love horrors, we love thrillers, we love action. I mean, yeah, we love comedy and romance as well. So I guess, I mean, it will include the entire gamut of these genres. But at the moment, I think we'll start with horrors and thrillers at the moment.
Right.
That's what we have planned. Then we have a rom-com as well. So I think, to be honest, whatever actually, as its destiny to go through first is what's going to go through. But yeah, being an actor, of course, I've enjoyed, action thrillers as well. So it just
Mm.
depends upon what actually goes through and how it all, when you got so many things that you're developing, everything has a life of its own. Everything has a timeline of its own.
Right.
So to be honest, whatever just happens and falls into place at that point in time, we're going to start with. Now, that's the stage we are at the moment, and yeah, we're working towards three things we're working towards. So let's see what happens first.
Fair play, absolutely. And I'm just really glad. I think it's great to kind of see you sort of foray onto this new venture and this new challenge. And I think we're all very much looking forward. I think everyone loved the first look poster of it as well. So I think definitely we're definitely looking forward to that. I think it's
Thank
very
you.
exciting to see you make your digital debut in ZEE5's Poison as well.
Yeah.
I think I saw the trailer and it was quite bold, and I think it's going to be a lot more vengeful in comparison to the first one. So that's definitely something I can
Yes.
kind of get from the trailer. But
Yeah.
OTT platforms generally, Aftab, they've been a silver lining and a great way for actors, be it new or experienced actors like yourself, to display their talent and kind of display their craft as well as actors. So in what way do you think or hope this will be advantageous for you?
Like you rightly said, it's a great platform to to push your boundaries to do various things that perhaps you could not have done on film. And there's so much of different kind of content being made and accepted by people, because it's that day and age today. So I think it is a great platform to experiment, to push your boundaries as an actor as well as a filmmaker. And yeah, I mean, because there's no censorship online, and
Hmm.
so there are a lot of things that you can do that perhaps you could not have probably done on cinema. And yeah, for actors, I think it's a great time. Even for directors and filmmakers, it's a great time to be on the web. So I think it's got a lot of potential, and there is so much of stuff being made. I mean, people are actually spoiled for choice. There are so many OTT platforms, so you get so much of variety as an audience, to pick and choose what you want to watch. So similarly, as an actor, you are getting a fair amount of options where you can decide what kind of a genre, what kind of a show you want to be part of, and just pursue that aspect of your desires and ambitions as an actor or a filmmaker that you have perhaps not haven't had a chance to pursue that as on film. So yeah.
Right. Hmm. So tell me a bit about your role actually in the series.
So I play a guy called Aditya Singh Rathod,
Hmm.
who is who comes out of nowhere and back to take revenge on a couple of people who have wronged him in the past. And you really don't know whether he's good or bad for a long time. You don't know who he is, where he's come from, what is he here for. His motive is revenge. So the kind of guy he is, he's a young, dynamic, charismatic guy who can be very ruthless at the same time and pull the stops on anything at any point of time. So he's a very unpredictable character. He comes across as really edgy, but he's actually quite still from inside. Um, and of course, he's got this. People have a lot of people have been asking me whether he's gray shaded or he's negative, and if for some strange reason it reminds them of Kasoor.
Yeah,
And
I
I,
was
I,
gonna
I just
say.
said to them, I said, I said, it's good that it kind of reminds you of something that I've done in the past, but of course the characterizations and everything, the script, everything is very different. But it's nice because Kasoor was a negative. It wasn't even great. It was just negative. He was the antagonist in the film. But this one has got shades of gray, but you really don't know whether he's the good guy or the bad guy, which is the interesting part of the character. So when I heard the script and when I heard the character, and of course Vishal, who's the director, is an old friend of mine, so it kind of all worked out really well. And ZEE5, and I have been talking about doing something together for a really long time, and they're fabulous to work with at the same time. So it's just all worked out really well, and I was very excited about doing something like this. And it's my favorite genre, which is action thrillers.
Right. Yeah.
There's mystery and there's suspense and there's romance and there's glitz and glamour and everything that you can think of. It's got this it's like a massive commercial pot boiler. So yeah, it's something really exciting, and I would say it's a perfect digital debut for me.
Yeah, I think it's great as well because I think it kind of brings back a lot of memories as well. Like, kind of gives it a nostalgic feel. Like I said, when as soon as you mentioned Kasoor, and as soon as you mentioned Revenge, I was like, okay, you know what? I was like thinking of Kasoor straight away. So I think the fact that there's also people remembering that as well, it kind of adds that nostalgic feel towards
Yeah,
that. And I think it would be great to kind of see with that avatar. But I think Aftab, I find it really fascinating because you began as a child artist as well in several films
yeah,
before you made your adult debut in Must. So given
yeah.
that you had experience in front of the camera whilst you were an infant, did that raise expectations for you as a grown-up?
Well, because I practically grew up in front of the camera. I did a lot of commercials and I did feature films as a child actor. Somewhere down the line, I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And of course, because I wasn't from a film family, it was always going to be that much more difficult to get my first break, or to get my launch pad. But God was kind. I got a great debut film in Must, and after then things started flowing really nicely in my life.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, as I was growing up and I faced the camera probably all my life, I knew this is what I wanted to do. So when you say expectations, it was more or less a dream and a passion and a desire, excuse me, to kind of become an actor someday. And then when I got the opportunity with Must, I couldn't have thanked my stars more. I was getting an opportunity with Ram Gopal Verma, opposite Urmila, an A-list film, and absolutely tailor-made for a 19-year-old, because it's about a boy who's in love with the film actor. So it kind of worked perfectly, for me at that age. And then of course, Kasoor happened shortly after that. So everything, fell really neatly and worked out really well. But yeah, I always wanted to do that. But obviously, because I was not from a film background, I didn't have anybody who's going to, was waiting there to launch me. There was always going to be that struggle. But God was kind. I got lucky that I got a dream debut, with Ram Gopal Verma's Must.
Mm.
And I think ever since I haven't looked back, and in fact, on 15th of October, I'll make it 21 years. And honestly,
Wow.
I don't know where it's flown by.
Wow, 21 years of Must, my God. The funny thing is your character was very
Yes.
relatable in that film. Like I felt like I was kind of your character in that film for a time until I became a journalist and kind of when interviewing actors kind of became the norm for me. So then that sort of वो जो एक क्या कहते हैं वो एक
Okay.
honeymoon period था वो जल्दी खत्म हो गया. So I think I could really
Right.
relate that. But congratulations on completing 21 years of the film. I think can't believe time has
Thank
gone
you.
so
Thanks
quickly.
so much. Thanks
So
about it.
so would you say receiving fame at a very young age, would you say it's a burden or a blessing?
Both. Both. I actually got a lot of it almost instantly the moment I did my first film, and that was for a 20-year-old, that was a lot to take in at that point of time. And I got a bit carried away, and I kind of almost took it for granted. Let's just say, like all 20, 21-year-olds would,
Sure.
when you get so much of fame and adulation and love, support, and affection, and you get fan followings, and you get people just showering you with attention all the time. I guess somewhere down the line it does creep into your psyche as well, and then you kind of take it for granted. But blessing, why? Because you also at the same time get to see the effect you have on people, the impact you have on people, and
Mm.
that is what is very encouraging. When people like your work, like for example, someone like yourself who've perhaps seen some of my work, and who's liked some of my work, hopefully
Oh,
has had these
definitely.
memories about me, that that okay, I've seen this guy in this film, or etc etc, and then you have good memories. So to know that this is the impact you had on people at that age or any age, I think that is a blessing. And why it becomes a burden is because then of course it kind of goes into your psyche sometimes, and then it psychologically plays with your mind. It makes you start believing things. So it's very important to stay grounded. It's very important to stay balanced, and focus on your work and not really think about all these additional benefits that happen on becoming a star or becoming an actor.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yes, so I think I would say in some cases it's a blessing, in some cases it's a burden.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned this actually because I think you've had ever changing phases of success in your career. I mean, you've had very, very successful movies and then you've also had failures as well. And you also have not done as well as perhaps one would have expected it to. These
Hmm.
setbacks must have been had the setbacks actually must have had quite a knockback effect on you, right? I mean, what would you say was the moment which kind of became the biggest reality check for you?
I think you know anytime an actor's film doesn't work is a reality check on the actor. Every time you feel that, okay, because see, we give our best. It's
Mm.
like when you give an exam, right? When you study for an exam, and then you go into the classroom and you give the exam, and then a couple of weeks later the results come out. And then when you know that you've perhaps failed, you know, in to put it in perspective, that's what it looks like when reality sinks in. It's something you worked on, something perhaps you studied, like a film that you worked on and you've given it all and you've given it your best and you performed your best and you think it's just going to rock. And suddenly one fine day, the audiences don't like it and they reject it. That becomes a reality check. So I've had a lot of these reality checks in my life. And, I think every time a film doesn't work, every time you get this reality check, it makes you think more. It makes you become a little more introspective. It makes you realize a few things. I'm not saying success doesn't teach you. Failure, and success both teach you enough. But I think failure teaches you a bit more than success does. It definitely tells you not to take things for granted. To have faith in God. To give it your best and then leave it to the audiences to accept it or not. So I think it's very important not to take anything for granted, and that's what these reality checks do to you. That they make you realize that nothing should be taken for granted.
I mean, obviously, this is a bit of a hypothetical question, but I just want to kind of understand and see what you would think, actually. Because obviously, like I said about the digital space, it's kind of opened up a massive platform. It's like a Pandora's box, I think, for any actor. They can literally, there's so much more opportunities for them. And it's not even as if you have to be with any platform. You can literally just make a film on your phone or act in front of anything nowadays, even TikToks, for example. So had this technology and this new avenues have been there when you were in the peak of your career, or perhaps when you were starting out, how do you think things would have been different?
A tough one. These are hypothetical, but we can try and imagine it. Yeah. No, I understand. I'm just trying to think as to what it would have been like. I don't know really. It's a tough one because I would say 10 years back, filmmaking was very different. 20 years back, filmmaking was even more different.
Yeah.
Of course, there were shows that were made, but were made on television.
Right.
The internet was not so big. I think in the early 2000s is when the internet, had this boom, and then everything was on the internet. Early 2000s or mid 2000s. So I think it was a bit. Everything is just about films or television or commercials. I don't think that there's anything about the web. But I think if the web was around, I think it's a tough one because you would have probably many more opportunities as an actor. I would imagine that you can do stuff for film as well as you can do stuff for the web.
Right.
So I think you would have probably had a lot more opportunities. But I guess then again, the era of filmmaking was very different. The era of filmmaking now is very different. If you see the kind of films that are being made now vis-a-vis the films that were made in the early 2000s, there is a large difference, in the way films are being made and the content as well. So it's a tough one. It's about imagining, like, what if the World War didn't happen? What would the world be like?
Yeah. True.
What if there was no more mobile phone technology? What if you and I didn't have a cell phone? What if there was no social media? So it's imagining a hypothetical situation, which is, I mean, sometimes you come so far ahead that it's difficult to look back and imagine what the world would have been without these so-called, things that we have today, we've already started taking things for granted.
Yeah, no, true that. I also think, when you perhaps were at that peak of your career as well, when you were starting off as well, I felt there was a lot of onus on stars. Stars were the biggest traction towards films. I mean, you still have that now, but I think that has kind of decreased significantly as well. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think today is the day and age of actors. The star system is slowly fading because I think people have realized that stars can pull a certain amount of audience for a certain amount of time. Then it's the film that actually speaks. It's the content that actually speaks. So I'm sure everybody today would know that they have to focus on content more than just their own star power, or aura for that matter. I think beyond the point, people will want to see good content. You can't. You might be fascinated for the first few minutes when you watch the star, in his introduction or her introduction. But the moment you start watching the content is when you forget about the star and then you watch characters. So therefore, I think it's an actor, who speaks now, and I think that's how it's going to be for posterity.
Yes, and I definitely hope it stays up there, and I hope the web continues to gain that momentum and sort of pushes even more different avenues, perhaps trying to create more opportunities for other actors as well. I was
Yeah.
having a look as well at your filmography again, just to kind of prepare for this conversation, and I've realized that the Musty franchise in particular has been quite a commercially viable venture for you. Sex comedies in Bollywood, in particular,
Yeah.
however, are often critiqued, sometimes because of their crass humor and some of the crass scenes that come across, and of course the homophobia and transphobia that kind of comes across as well. So why are they so successful? And do you think that this genre can kind of be handled more sensitively in any way?
Why they're more successful? One question I'll answer that first is because I think they cater more to the masses. They don't cater to the classes. And they cater to the people who want to watch films for entertainment purposes. They don't really want to think while watching the film. It's not for the thinking audience. It's basically for a general mass, who like to watch mindless comedy sometimes and just have a laugh, go to the cinema, enjoy yourself, forget about your worries at home, and not think. You
Hmm.
know, or not, basically forget about your worries in life, not only just home, but maybe in your professional life, and just go to the cinema and just switch off and watch just such brainless stuff, mindless stuff that just entertains you. There's no preaching, there is no I'm trying to socially make you aware of something and I'm not trying to teach you a lesson. There's nothing. It's just go have fun. It's just it's a comedy that's not going to make you think. It's just going to make you have fun. So perhaps that's why it was successful. With regard to the second question about treating it more sensitively, see, I'm not sure about whether sensitive is the right word. you know
Hmm.
um, yes, of course, we live in a day and age where we don't want to objectify women, or we don't want to objectify sex, or we don't objectify homosexuality. We don't objectify all these things anymore, because I think we've gone past that stage. That
Right.
phase of even filmmaking is over. So even if perhaps adult comedies or sex comedies today ever have to be made in the future, they will have to be made very differently.
Hmm.
With the arrival of all these OTT platforms, you get to see content from worldwide. So you
Yeah.
don't want to really go back into that phase and think regressively. You want to think of something that's futuristic. You want to think about something that's more contemporary as well as futuristic. So I don't think that the same way that adult comedies were made in the past, they can be made in the future and become successful. They will have to have some sort of a shift, some sort of a change in the way they are portrayed as well.
Hmm.
So I don't think they're going to work if they're going to be made in the same format or the same kind of message or the same kind of way they were made in the past. That's definitely going to have to change.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's very well summarized as well. Because I think the problem is it's not what it is, it's how it's being shown. I think
Yeah,
sometimes that's where the problem lies, and I think that's what
yeah,
really is.
absolutely. Yeah, you actually said it better than I did. Maybe you could have answered the question yourself.
Aftab, if I was an actor, maybe if I get a role in your next film, I can do the interviews for you.
You probably will.
No, fabulous. But I think it's great. But Aftab, I think because I mentioned before as well, you've witnessed everything, I think, in your life. I think from failures to success and everything in between. You've kind of had it all. What would you say was the sort of life-changing moment for you? And what has that life-changing moment taught you?
I think the moment I got my first film, must, because before that, being a 19-year-old, sometimes you find yourself directionless,
Right.
and you're looking for things in life where you're looking for a purpose in life. There's so much that you want to do with your life, and I'm sure a lot of young people over there who perhaps will be watching this, I hope they'll be watching this, they realize that, what, I'm at an age where I need to do something with my life. I need to not only prove my parents right or make them proud. I think you also want to do it for yourself, for your
Sure.
future,
Yeah.
because you've got your whole life ahead of you. So you obviously want to make something out of your life. So a lot of people will think like that. And similarly, I was like that when I was 19 as well. I just finished off my college, and I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll try and do an MBA, maybe I'll try and do something. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I was thinking of from being a gym instructor to some kind of a badminton coach, because I used to love
Oh,
badminton.
oh wow.
Just to make money. So I mean, I perhaps even give tuitions to kids. So there are a lot of things that I was contemplating. In fact, even being a real estate agent, because I did a short stint for a year and a half as a real estate agent as well.
Uh-huh.
That was my first job as a 16-year-old. So there were so many thoughts that were dancing in my mind, and of course, but I knew innately that I wanted to become an actor, because that's something that I just adored. I love
Yeah.
acting. I loved being in front of the camera, but I just never was from a famous family. I just never was, someone who would have this offer ready on a platter. Okay,
No.
aao bhai, I'm going to launch you. But then,
Yeah.
of course, God had another plan for me, and He was, I'm really blessed. So I think the fact that I got my first film and under that kind of a banner and that kind of a projection, that was my life-changing moment where everything in my life before and after changed. Then I was no longer going to be just another guy from, South Mumbai and, finding a purpose in his life. Now there was a purpose. Now there was a direction. Now
Right.
there was something that needed to be pursued, with a lot of passion, and that was my acting.
Right.
And there was the opportunity, there was a chance, so I gave it all.
Mm.
And then I was blessed that the people accepted me and, have given me so much of love and affection over the years. And that's where I am today. So life before that and life after that would be like BC and AD for me.
Yeah.
And that was my life changing moment.
Well, I think we have BC and AC for before Corona and after Corona as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think the definition of that has kind of changed significantly. But actually, I was
Absolutely.
thinking about it actually. Are you actually related to Sadhna ji, as in Sadhna and Babita ji? Are you related to them because their surname is Shivdasani too?
Yes, I think when my grandmother was alive, unfortunately she's no more, but she did mention that we are related to Hari Shivdasani.
Okay.
And Hari Shivdasani, I think, was Babita ji's
Yeah.
father, if I'm not mistaken. I'm very bad at the family tree, but please don't hold me for it. But yeah, I think we were told that we are related to Mr. Hari Shivdasani, and the Sindhi family tree. If any Sindhis are watching, this is very very complicated. It's like a, it's quite difficult to kind of get to not to the bottom, but to the top of things.
Right.
But yeah, so that we were told we were related, but to be honest, I don't know if I don't know how.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because sometimes I look at the family tree and I'm just like, मैं इस बड़े city में कहाँ fit होता हूँ? And I'm just like, wow, okay. Like you see the
Yeah,
ancestors, and I'm just like, wow, okay. We've come a very long
yeah.
way. And I think it's very interesting to
No,
kind
but
of
what's even funnier is that sometimes initially when I became an actor, I was the only person. I am the only person from my large Sindhi extended family who's into films, and then I have cousins from various parts from wherever, and saying that, by the way, I'm your fourth cousin. And I'm like, right, from where, which side? And from this side and from that side. So this one's uncle is that sister, and then the first cousin, and then and I'm like thinking, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to mix and get that. But yeah, I've had people who come in and tell me that I'm your cousin from here, I'm your cousin from there. I'm like, that's fantastic, that's great, but so it's
yeah.
kind of hard.
Yeah, it's like you need Google Maps for these things, like
You do.
you need some sort of like help for this. But no, I think it is
Yeah.
fascinating to always find this out. But now that you're a father of Tab as well, and it's a very beautiful phase that you're currently in as well. In what way do you think this will kind of help you mature as an artist as well?
I think first of all, it's taught me a lot to be very patient. Two things. One is to be very patient, and one is to be very still. And both of which I needed to really work on in my personality, because sometimes I would get a bit restless and impatient. But because of my daughter, she is, of course, she is just 10 weeks old. So of course, you have to be patient. You have to be still, because sometimes when I'm trying to put her off to sleep, she's on my shoulder, and then I can't really move, because if I move or if I do anything, she wakes up. And
Mm,
then if she wakes up, then me and my wife don't get to do much, because then it's just we're with her. But
yeah.
of course, yeah, it's taught me how to be patient, and it's taught me how to be still as much as possible, and it continues to do so. And that's kind of my note to self, lessons that I'm trying to learn with
Mm,
life, that I definitely need to be more, and of course, more responsible. So all of these
mm,
factors, I'm sure, will trickle down in my career as an artist as well.
mm.
And yeah, it's just and to be in the moment. You can't take your eyes off her, because if you take your eyes off her, then what if she slips and falls, or whatever. So
Yeah.
you have to be constantly vigilant, and which means that you got to stay focused. So it also helps you focus. I think all of these factors will help me in my work as well.
Right, right. No, absolutely. And I kind of had a conversation with Angad Bedi as well about this, about life as a
Hmm.
father, and as an actor. And I think, every time I see any celebrity parent now, I kind of, in my mind, there's also a fear as well, because every time I see celebrity parents sort of getting out, or parents who are actors and with their kids, they're constantly packed, constantly in the forefront of the media. Are you worried
Yeah.
about this as well? Is this something that's kind of crossed your mind or kind of been a worry for you?
Yeah, my wife and I have discussed it a few times, and both of us are of the opinion that we want to be a little guarded about her. She's so precious, she's so sacred to us that we
Mm,
don't want to expose her um, to anybody right now. We're quite protective about her, and we, as a couple, also, as both of us have been always very, we don't really go out there. We do our bit for the media, and then we have our lives as well. We're quite introvertish that way.
mm,
So I think, yeah, we would carry on leading the same lives that we've been leading for ourselves with her as well, and makes sure and we make sure that she has the right values in place. She realizes that a lot of things, obviously now it's too early to explain to her, but of course in time we would try and inculcate the correct values in her,
mm.
and how sometimes even getting overly papped in life can kind of fill your head up with air, and then you think suddenly, well, okay, I'm like the talk of the town and I'm being papped everywhere, so I'm really important, and that can happen to you. So I think it's very important that you instill those values in a child as well, where you tell the child that this is just a photograph and it's make believe. So don't
Mhm.
think that you are somebody famous and the people just want to take a picture of you. So it's very important to make them realize from a young age, but obviously now it's too early. But at the moment we're going to try and keep her as protected as possible.
Yeah, it's a good idea, I think, as well, because I think, like we were talking about, you achieving fame as a child artist as well. It's very difficult as well to kind of maintain a bit of consistency in life, because I think sometimes अगर
Yeah.
आपको जल्दी वो fame मिल जाए, तो फिर आपके
Mm.
मतलब it becomes a very big thing to manage, especially when you're
Yep.
so young. I mean, we've also, of course, had many successful actors today who have started as child artists. I mean, Urmila, for one, was a child artist as well in films like Kalyug and of course Masoom, and then obviously she's done really well as well. But what is your stance on that? I think having gone through that phase of like getting fame at a young age, do you think like, I mean, would you encourage it? I mean, as a father now, would you kind of want your child to kind of go through a similar phase that you went through as well?
See, I've never been against it. I've I've been a successful child actor, and I've had parents who've instilled a lot of great values inside me. They never let my education suffer. And I think there's nothing wrong with being a child actor because it kind of exposes your creativity and your art in life,
Mm,
and it explores a side to you that perhaps not every child gets an opportunity to do,
mm,
at a young age. So
yeah,
there is no harm in exploring that side to a child, as long as you maintain a balance. I would say that as both of us, Nin and I, are extremely, uh, aware the fact that education is the most important thing. You
mm,
know, and this industry, because I've lived in here for about 21 years, is so unpredictable that you need to really have your bearings correct and in place. And
mm,
have a stable background and a stable mindset, and that comes from education. And I'm a firm believer that education is the most important thing. So I would definitely allow my children to pursue extracurricular activities or creative activities for sure, including sports for that matter. Whether it's martial arts or sports or acting or
yeah,
dancing or anything for that matter,
mm,
as long as they have a balance with their education.
right.
Because for me, that is the most important thing.
Absolutely. And because obviously I think what I've always loved about you, Aftab, is the fact that you have this very cute look. Like you have this very boy next door cute look. But at the same time, you can be someone that's very deceiving and very like dark in the characters which you've played before, like we mentioned in films like Kasoor. And
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Phas gaya main. But yeah,
That's why actually, sorry, Gotcha. That's probably why you like Poison.
yeah.
Because with the
I,
same demeanor of the face, you don't know what to expect from this guy.
Love it. Yeah, exactly. And that's the sort of distinction that I think has always been your plus point, if I can say, as an actor.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
so now that you've obviously doing works like Poison, what sort of works or ventures are you keen on exploring in terms of an actor? And how do you think what do you think will challenge you further now?
No, I think, see, I've done romance, I've done comedy, I've done mostly everything. But the two genres that I've always loved is action and action thrillers.
Hmm.
And Poison is an action thriller. And I'd love to do stuff like that, action and action thriller and more or less thrillers. And that's what challenges me as an actor. Don't get me wrong, I love doing comedies and I really enjoy myself doing comedies, but it doesn't really challenge me as an actor.
Hmm.
What challenges me as an actor is really intense stuff that's really internal as an actor, that doesn't, where you don't say a line but you still emote. You don't really open your mouth, but you still convey the message to the person in front of you.
Yeah.
So that for me is very challenging as an actor, and I'm looking for, because Poison has that. Poison, of course, has me speaking all the time, but there are a lot of things that are very internalized in Poison. You know, there's an angst inside him. There is a fire inside him, which you don't see but you feel. You know, and that's what's important. If it comes across, like how you say, for example, you said deceitful. I think that's a great word for me, because for me that's exactly how I am in Poison.
Yeah.
And I think it's lovely because, like I said, when you ask me about my character, you don't know whether he's positive or negative, which is what the beauty about the character is. Yeah, because I'm going to keep you guessing as to who he is, at least till a point where it is revealed who he is. So I think that for me as an actor was very challenging, and I really enjoyed it. And I would love to do more stuff like that if people like me in Poison, and I'm hoping that they do. You know, people who are, you know, doing stuff like that, I would love to do more stuff like that.
Indeed, definitely. So after Poison, do you have anything else in the pipeline?
I do. I can't speak about it right now. There are 2, 3 things that we are planning, but yeah, one's a comedy, one's a thriller. So I think, it's like I said, whatever happens first, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Also something for the web, but I can't talk about it at the moment.
Okay, well, whenever it's all official, I'm definitely going to be chasing up for your next interview, and I think we definitely have.
Anytime.
We
It's a
definitely.
pleasure. Anytime.
We definitely have to reunite again, I think, and have a conversation about that.
Sure.
But Aftab, wishing you all the very best for Poison on ZEE5, and again, congratulations on becoming a dad. I think it makes me and a
Thank
lot of
you.
others very happy to see you go for this very beautiful phase as well.
Thank you so much. It's so sweet.
So thank you so much, Aftab, for joining me on
It
Filme
was a
Shilmy.
pleasure, and we'll definitely do an interview again soon.
Absolutely, definitely. Thank you, Aftab. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.